Hi, I'm Megan McCormick. Make sure to listen to my friends on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Doc here for DetroitBeardCollective.com, Detroit's premier grooming company. Visit DetroitBeardCollective.com if your beard is feeling dry, scaly, if you need to maintain your beard. This day and age, there's products out there that helps you take care of your beard. Beard butters will make your beard feel softer, better smelling than ever before. The Doc actually rocked a beard earlier this spring and summer, and I actually used the beard butter. I heard that Adam was into styling, and I'm like, you know what? Let me take care of myself. So I went to DetroitBeardCollective.com and bought the beard butter. My face actually does feel smoother. I definitely checked out the products at the Detroit Beard Collective. They got great t-shirts, oils, the ultra-popular Beard Crate, which is a wide assortment of a bunch of different Detroit Beard Collective products. So definitely support those who support us, DetroitBeardCollective.com.
Hey, everybody, this is Freddie Cohen of ESPN Radio. When I'm not talking about breaking news or breaking news on ESPN Radio, I'm always a fan and listen to the Detroit Sports Podcast, and so should you.
Often imitated, never duplicated. Thank you for downloading another episode on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Joining me, full of energy, full of life, Adam, the Jock Strozinski. What's up, cuz? What's happening?
I love the sarcasm. I wish you had a futon in here. That way I could just take a nap real quick.
But seriously, you're dragging ass, man. What the hell's going on? It's a beautiful Wednesday. What's going on?
I'm doing so bad right now. I got this new work schedule. I'm filling in this week for this girl, and I gotta work what's called the split, which is horrible. You go in first thing in the morning, like butt crack of dawn. When all your morning radio people get in, I gotta go in on that schedule, and I get out around 10, and then I go home for like a minute, and then I gotta go back to work before 3, and I hang out there till 7. It's just horrible, man. It ruins your day.
Yeah, I can imagine getting up that early. Then you come in here to do a podcast. Only when you're done to have to go back to work.
Yep.
You're like, oh, man, what a day.
It's just busy, man. Very busy.
Man around town. The local sports expert, you got to do your thing.
That's never going to go away.
But everything's been going good. I know we got to hit on the Lions. We got to talk about, the malaise that they put over the city of Detroit regarding football. Do you know that I'm hearing talk that people actually want to have topics on sports radio or talk about the fact that, hell, if the Lions went to L.A., shoot, we might just need to take an expansion team to get a victory. Just, you know what? Let's just not talk about the coaches anymore. Let's just not talk about management. Let's not talk about it. Let's just ship the damn organization away and start all over.
The Michigan Panthers, baby. Let's bring them back.
So we got
sweet jerseys.
We got to talk about the Lions. Jerseys. Yeah, it's a mess, a big mess, and we got to see what a terrible performance looks like. Another one this past Sunday. So we'll talk about that. We're going to play a round of the Doctors in Session. Jock's got 3 questions lined up, and we're going to banter regarding other news in the sporting world. And hopefully we'll get a chance to link up with Jeff Rieger.
As long as the baby doesn't come before the show, we're okay.
He's on baby watch, so we'll get a chance to check in. And, it's kind of nice, to have a child around this time. And it's all good, man. We'll get a chance to talk about the Red Wings. We haven't peeked in on them for a minute, and they went through a stretch there. 13 games earning at least a point, which was broken recently. But we got to check in on those Red Wings. Everything's going good in the world of Detroit sports. We're getting ever so close to New Year's Eve in Michigan State. Getting excited every single day. Lots of news and notes to get to. But let's kick this bad boy off. Episode 123 of the Doc and Jock podcast. About to kick this bad boy off. Talking about the Detroit Lions. And my simple reaction to that game was I was kind of in line with a lot of other people. I watched the game, but my passion was gone. I just kind of watched it. It was horrifically boring, and you're like, wow, I am crazy. I'm still watching this. But the one tie that kept me into the game was knowing that Aaron Donald was going to crap all over the Lions. And I'm like, you know what? This is what they get.
It wasn't that Matt Stafford became the youngest player to throw for whatever it was? Oh, okay. All right. You know what? I'm glad you said that because I thought I was the only one. I was watching it, and I was just sitting there on my couch, and I'm like, I could be doing something else. I could maybe be masturbating, and I'd be getting more enjoyment out of that than watching this. Like, it was putrid, man. It was really bad. It was boring, and you're right. I had no energy to watch that game. When we were sitting there putting this show together, I was like, why do we have to talk about the Lions? Like, I wanted to find something else to avoid talking about them. But because it's football, you almost have to put it as number one and you have to talk about it. And I don't have the passion for these guys anymore. Obviously, it looks like they've given up on their season. St. Louis was a team that you should have rolled in to the Arch City and sat there and pile drived them. You should have. Who do they have, really? They've got Todd Gurley, a rookie running back, and they've got Aaron Donald, who you should have, but you bone that, and we've got Eric Ebron.
Really, in the end, those two guys are better than really anything we got.
It's
embarrassing.
Blows my mind. It blows my mind. They have two guys, and those two guys ate you alive on both sides of the ball, and you didn't do anything to stop it. You didn't even try. It was like you didn't even formulate a plan. Like, maybe we could sit there and double team Aaron Donald. Maybe we could have somebody who shadows Todd Gurley. Maybe we could run some type of a scheme to sit there and help, I don't know, maybe make us win, help us win, get us in a position where we can get a W. Instead, your offense basically doesn't show up for the first half. The second half, we're supposed to get excited because you run one play to Golden Tate that works twice. Get the hell out of here.
And the part that's disappointing is the Lions, again, when they play a solid defense, again, they fail to produce on offense. But Todd Gurley was held in check in that first half. They come out, they make a simple adjustment, and boom, they wore out the Lions. And Todd Gurley was just plowing through the Lions. And it was disappointing to see that, you had the right game plan. It's just you couldn't effectively compete for 60 minutes in an NFL football game. And it was disappointing. And Aaron Donald, you knew it going in, so it didn't hurt as much, but it was a tough thing to watch. Aaron Donald, who was basically praised by the announcers, and he was called, one of the premier interior defensive linemen, and he got back into to sack Matthew Stafford, and then you have to make the comparison. Okay, Aaron Donald, how did our 10th pick do? Did he get a touchdown? Did he do anything? Did Eric Ebron make a significant dent in the game? 3 catches, 26, 27 yards, nothing. And you're like, okay, dude, seriously? And then after the game, after the insult's over, you're standing there parading with a huge smile on your face, changing jerseys with Todd Gurley. I was like, come on, dude. I mean, maybe you do that. Fine, I get it. You're boys, you're part of the NFL elite, per se. You made it to the league, but you can do that stuff. You can find them in the back hallways. The stadium is huge. You got to stand there right in front of everybody after you lost and act like, well, whatever. And then you come out and you're the one hulking up and talking to the media.
That was his biggest dent, was he comes out and he sits there and throws the refs underneath the bus.
Yeah.
For everybody hates Detroit. That was what he brings to the game. Really, dude? Really? Everybody hates Detroit? Yeah, there was a bad call on that Theo Riddick chop block because that never happened, and that took some points off the board. But come on, you've got to be better than the referees. Yeah. You got to be better than that. If you're better than that, you're going to get calls. He wants to sit there and he wants to bitch about a pass interference that he feels that he should have gotten. Your feet got tangled with the cornerback. All right, if you are a better team, if you're a better player, maybe you get that call. So it's your job to be better. Don't tell me what the referees should give you. Get the hell out of here.
Just based on that performance, that complete 60-minute performance,
Dude, you lost to Case Keenum, who threw 124 yards.
Did you get a sense the Lions quit?
Yes, the season's over.
They quit.
Season's over. That's why I can't wait for the pick'em, because it makes everything so much easier now.
Yeah.
It does. They're not showing up. It's done. All over. Like, there is no reason we should really invest any more time or energy into the rest of this Lions season, because obviously the Lions haven't invested any more time or energy into it. So what the hell's the point of us coming on here, getting excited, me screaming, me taking 6 different energy drinks, a whole tub of C4 to come on here and lose my mind and turn red in the face? What's the point? It doesn't do any good. I mean, like, seriously, this season has been a complete and utter disaster. A complete disaster. It's been so bad. A guy that you thought you had in Adrian Waddle, a piece that you thought that you maybe found a diamond in the rough.
Great 2013 season.
Right.
Great.
You thought you found something really good there. You turn around and you cut him because he can't get on the field. He's not performing. He's a damn turnstile out there like the rest of your offensive line.
Not to make excuses.
Get the hell out of here, man. This season's done.
When a lineman has an ACL injury, you're pretty much not expecting him to come back right away. And yeah, but he couldn't get on the field. Healthy scratch. We part ways with him, and it's a shame because he had potential in 2013, but You know, what happened was he got injured in 2014, that ACL injury. It's a tough injury. And for a lineman, it's not just that easy because you have to make lateral moves. You got to make quick decisions. It's a tough thing to come back from. It's not an easy thing at all. But yeah, it was greatly disappointing that they did lay down. They didn't show that much fire. And again, another reason now for all the Stafford supporters to be like, oh, look at this. The first quarterback now, you know, the fastest quarterback to earn 25,000 passing yards, 2 games faster than Dan Marino, and da-da-da-da-da. But then you realize he doesn't have a lot of wins to his name in terms of his football career. He doesn't have any playoff wins. He has a lot of stats, and that's great. And I guess now the more you look at it,
you know, it's easy to rack up yards when you're in garbage time or you're behind by 14 to 21 points every single game because you're forced to throw the ball. So I don't want to hear about how many yards you got.
Yeah, I could honestly see him breaking, you know, the all-time passing yardage record with no playoff wins.
Yeah.
I could see that. You know, he'd have all the stats, most touchdowns, most interceptions, most passing yards, 0 playoff wins. And it's tough to, you know, it's tough because you know what we are right now? We're in Lions quarterback purgatory because you got a guy who's serviceable, but he has no playoff wins. So if you get someone else, okay, you might have a worse season, but you know, he's got supporters and he's got some intangibles. So it's like we're in purgatory because you can't get rid of him because he's the guy that's your franchise guy. He's going to collect a big contract. But in the end, the results show that he is what he is. I don't think anybody that's logistically looking at it thinks he's going to get any better. So this is what we got. This is a perfect Lions quarterback. Can put up numbers, can earn some support, but in the end, when you look at the win column in terms of the playoffs, big fat 0. And I don't see him getting that much better. This is what we got. Are you willing to accept this is the guy, Matthew Stafford?
Let me ask you this, because what I don't get is I don't get the rationale of some Lions fans. And if you are driving around in your car and you sometimes hear this on sports talk radio, where Lions fans will call in and they're like, Matt Stafford's the guy. He's got to be the guy. He's better than anything we've ever had. That's the reasoning. He's better than anything we've ever had. I don't understand that train of thought. Just because he's that good doesn't mean that you should keep him and invest millions upon millions of dollars into him. You need to expect more. You need to reach higher. You need to demand more. Want more from your players. They should go out there and they should win you games, win you playoff games, not just put up big gaudy numbers that don't mean anything. What does Matt Stafford throwing for, what was it, 25,000 yards in 90 games? What does that mean to you? What has that done for you? Has that given you a playoff win? Has that given you time to actually sit there and really enjoy a playoff game? Because they've made it to the playoffs, but have you really enjoyed them? Because in the end, you always leave with this vacant hole because they've never won those games.
Or they've never made it to the playoffs. Hey, here's a novel idea. Make it to the playoffs 2 seasons in a row.
Right.
Show some like progression. Like, okay, lose in the first round, get to the NFC title game. Hey, progression. But it's like good season, awful season. Mediocre season, great season. It's like, you know, Lions fans don't want to let go of Matthew Stafford because if you look around the league, look at St. Louis started Case Keenum. Around the league, you got Brian Hoyer as a starter, Johnny Manziel. The league is littered with quarterbacks that really don't deserve to be there because whatever reason, the quarterback position is not one that's, you know, you got the top 3, 4, and a bunch of mediocre guys. That's it. And the problem is, though, we want the top 3 to 4, me and you. The rest are happy with like, hey, if he's a top 15 quarterback and he can give us a couple touchdowns a game and throw the ball around, we'll take it.
I just want a guy to win. You know, he doesn't have to be elite. Everybody wants an elite quarterback, but you just said it. There's like 3 of those guys. They don't just fall off of trees. You can't just go down into the SEC country and say, hey, I want that one from Georgia. Or, hey, I want that one from Alabama. It just doesn't happen. They just don't just sprout up every year like they're something in your mom's garden. It doesn't work this way. So you know what? If you can give me a guy who can sit there and put up, I don't know, top 10 numbers, I'll take it as long as he wins games. I don't care if he puts up top 20 numbers. Win me football games. Don't throw interceptions. Put the ball into the end zone. Give your team a chance to win.
And so the part that when you asked about the Lions fans is they're scared of the unknown. They're scared that, hey, you bring in a Connor Cook, you bring in a lower draft pick. He's not the guy. I believe the fans that support Matthew Stafford believe that he's a franchise quarterback, and they'll make excuses. He's a guy that will draw excuses from the fans. They'll say, well, he doesn't have a line. Who would do good in this line? He doesn't have a running game. You've built, though, pieces all around him. I mean, you got Calvin Johnson, you got Golden Tate. You've surrounded him with pieces that can be effective.
You had arguably the best wide receiver during his time period in his prime in Calvin Johnson. You had one of the most reliable, dependable receivers in Golden Tate, who I think when we signed him, he dropped what? I think we have a blog on it somewhere on our website there, where I think he only dropped like 7% of balls ever thrown to him. Might have even been less than that. I mean, you threw it to the guy, he catches the ball. I know he hasn't had a run game, all right? But you have pieces. You got a piece like Theo Riddick, who I'm pretty high on, who doesn't really see the field. Now we're into the final stretch of the season, and Theo Riddick's getting put out there more. Oh, hey, you think it would have helped the team out a little bit more if you were starting him, perhaps? Maybe. The guy can do everything out of the backfield. He can block. He can catch passes. He can run the ball a little bit. He can even go between the tackles.
Yeah, and we've had this debate before in that, is it coaching or is it the talent? And it really just a big mess of both. But we did a poll on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast, and I threw out a question because it was bantered on the Motor City Sports Rant that comes out every Tuesday. We bantered and said, hey, if Tom Brady at his age right now is on this team, what would their record be? Would they be 7 or 6 or worse, or 7 or 6 and better? And we did a poll, and overwhelming 75% of those who voted said that they believe that if Tom Brady were on this team with this collection of talent, they'd be 7 and 6 or better. So what is it? Is it that Matthew Stafford's not a leader? Is it that the fact that if he's not, Calvin Johnson, your highest paid guys, don't talk? They don't say nothing. They sit there and they give us PC answers like the coach. And in the locker room, would you play for a guy like that? I don't know. I think they're going through the motions. And I think that when Matthew Stafford and Calvin Johnson, the two highest paid guys on the team, aren't your real leaders, then this is what happens. You get a group of guys who make mistakes at the end, and they don't close games, and they have this kind of 4-9 record. Tom Brady has never even sniffed a 4-win season. Has he? No, he was injured, and then his backup got 12 wins and earned himself 5 more years in the league.
It was 10, but yeah, his backup went 10 and 6.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So they finished with 12 wins that year because they missed the playoffs. So remember that the Patriots won 12 games with Brady's backup.
I'm going to the Oracle.
You got to go to the Oracle because what happened was
I thought they went 10 and 6 that year because I thought he got injured in the very first game of the season. They just missed the playoffs. I do know that.
Yeah, it was 12 and 4. It was one of those years where they got I believe 12 wins, and it was like what, or maybe 11 and 5 in that range. But in the end, though, a quarterback of Tom Brady's ilk would come in here and would never sniff 4 wins, and he would make. Just imagine Tom Brady throwing to Calvin Johnson. Just imagine Tom Brady throwing to Golden Tate. I almost would say Tom Brady would make Ebron a tight end in the neighborhood of Jimmy Graham. He would get in his face the first time he dropped the ball, and he would rip his helmet off. Whereas Matthew Stafford just cries like a baby and doesn't throw him the ball anymore. That's what's going on. I don't believe that Matthew Stafford makes other people around him better, and I don't believe that if you keep him around this team that you're going to get anywhere near a championship. You'll get to the playoffs. You might have success one year in the playoffs. But what I want, and what I think everyone who listens to this should want, is a quarterback that can consistently get you 2 to 3 playoff wins every year. That's what the number one pick gets you in terms of expectation. That's what it's all about. This isn't a backup. This isn't Dan Orlovsky. This isn't a guy who was drafted in the 6th or 7th round. This is the number 1 overall pick in 2009. And you don't have consistency. And look at that. How many more coaches do you want to bring in the guy? The one saving grace now, another sliver of hope, is Adam Gase from Chicago has turned Jay Cutler into something serviceable. He's kind of now the new, guy that's like, he's a guy that can come in here and handle it. But you want to let him have another offensive coordinator? You want to let him have another set of coaches to go through? This guy could literally go through 5, 6, 7 coaches, and everyone would be like, yeah, let's give it a try. Let's see what happens. Maybe, let's give him a line. Let's give him a running back. You can't do that. There's a salary cap. Every position can't be a Hall of Famer for the guy. So he's serviceable. We're not knocking him. He's not terrible. He's not Joey Harrington, but he's not Andy Dalton even. That's the problem. He's like right in the middle. He's Matthew Stafford. That's what we got.
Would you take Andy Dalton over him right now?
Yes. Of course I would. Look at, you go from, Cincinnati bitched and moaned like, hey, we can't get playoff wins, da-da-da-da. Now you're rolling out there with A.J. McCarron. Your season's done.
A.J. McCarron looked pretty good too.
He is pretty good, but you're not going to win. You're not going to get out of the AFC with him. Are you kidding me? The AFC is going to be great. It's going to be Denver. It's going to be the likes of Tom Brady and New England. You got a lot of young teams. Pittsburgh could make a run. Whew.
All right, I've been over here like struggling with the Google machine, but it appears, I think it was a 2008 season. They finished second with 11-5. So
11-5.
It was
okay.
between us.
There you go.
So yeah. All right. So there you go. But yeah, no, you make a great point. I mean, I don't think Matt Stafford's a winner. I don't think he brings anything to this team. You know, I mean, yeah, the guy's got a great arm and he can throw the ball a mile and he gets all frustrated out there and he throws his hands up and looks like a whiny baby. But he's not winning you ball games. And that's what it comes down to.
It's all about wins.
Do you want to invest all this money? I don't even know how we got sidetracked with talking about Stafford. He was nowhere on the show prep sheet today. But either way, you don't go and you don't invest $160 million into this guy. And how is it that all this talk about Adam Gase?
Gase, yeah.
How is all this talk about him coming out that he's going to be the next head coach of the Lions and the rumor and the speculation is we don't even have a general manager yet.
Right.
We have nobody to pull the trigger. Does that mean Shelly White's staying in power?
No, it's simple. It's simple speculation. You know that Ernie Accorsi was instrumental in putting together that staff in Chicago, and they're like, "Oh, okay, he's the guy here."
That's fine. But what has Chicago done? What's Chicago's record?
Yeah, I think
they're 5-8.
5-8. Mm.
They're not even 6-10 like you were going to say. Not even close. They're 5-8. So what has he done with Jay Cutler? Jay Cutler hasn't had some revolution. He hasn't turned it over. I mean, he's still out there on the field turning it over. That's what he does. But Jay Cutler's not great.
But best statistical season he's ever had. If you look at the stats, the best numbers he's had. It's a bad team.
Again, more numbers. I don't care about numbers. Matt Stafford has all the numbers in the freaking record books. It doesn't matter. He doesn't have enough wins by his name. He doesn't have any playoff wins. He doesn't have any Super Bowl wins.
So after 13 games now, we've watched this mess. We've talked about every single angle in terms of the coaching, the general manager, the players, the strategies, who's doing what. Monday Night Football, you going to tune in? Is it going to be something where maybe it's time to maybe say, you know what, let's just check the highlights at the end of the game?
I'll be tuning in because I am playing in. I'm playing for what? I'm playing for a chance to go into the championship.
Yes,
and I've got two guys on New Orleans team.
Who you got?
That I need to produce for me. I ended up picking up Tim Hightower because I have no running back help anymore.
I should do that too. I was told to do that. I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, I picked up Tim Hightower and I've got Watson as my tight end. So I've got absolutely nothing going on. I'm probably going to get murdered this week. So I need those two guys to perform for me. But that's the only reason I'm watching. If it wasn't for fantasy football, the NFL's got it so sweet. They've got it so good. They've got their own network. They've sat there and they basically block up, basically 6 days out of the week with nothing but football conversation. Nothing but football conversation. The only day that they don't really cover, and they end up getting it later on in the week, but it's Saturday. Saturday is like the only day that you don't really talk football. That's the day that is reserved for college football. But other than that, 6 days out of the week, man, it's football, football, football. And now they've got me tuning into this crap fest. Basically, it's Turd Ferguson versus freaking poop on a stick. It's going to be horrible, man. I mean, you got a 4-9 Lions team going against a 5-8 New Orleans team. Come on, this is going to be brutal. And all the Monday night games suck as it is, but I'm going to watch this because I'm hooked with fantasy football. The NFL's got it so sweet, man. They just suck you in and reel you in, and they just keep delivering crap upon crap upon crap.
Yeah, I agree with you. And so for me, I'm probably not going to tune in as intently to the Monday night game.
I don't blame you.
I might not. I might flip back and forth from Monday Night Raw to other things, to some highlights on NFL Network. I don't think that it's going to be a situation where they can keep my attention anymore. It's just like, you know what? They're playing out the string. They're going to try to sell you a bill of goods. But in the end, I don't see why Monday Night Football can't even flex them out. It's a meaningless game on prime time, and there's nothing really left. It's just playing out the string. And hopefully Stafford gets through these next 3 games without hurting himself or anybody else who's valuable to the team. But now I want to...
Before you move off of Monday Night Football, I love what ESPN has done. All right. And I feel bad for them because they get rooked with all these really crap games on Monday night. I mean, you've got, the Giants versus Washington. That was garbage. You've got now the Lions versus New Orleans. This is going to be garbage. All right. But normally ESPN is pushing their Monday night broadcast all week, from like the moment that the last game ends all the way up until Monday night. They're pushing it and they're selling you on it and they're building it and they're trying to find storylines and they're trying to get you pumped up and amped up for it all week long. I haven't heard anything. ESPN doesn't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole. ESPN is like, are you serious? This is what we have? We've got Drew Brees and we've got a sweet face scar. And we've got baby fat Matt Stafford. This is going to be awful. This is going to be great, dude. This is horrible. ESPN doesn't even want this pile.
Yeah.
They'd much rather watch the Giants versus Washington. Come on.
Yeah,
It's awful.
They should be allowed to flex out of it, but we were stuck with it. So what are you going to do? So then before we, stop talking about this mess, Coach Caldwell comes out, and the big talking point regarding the Lions game is your number one receiver, future Hall of Famer, is only getting one catch for roughly 16 yards. And he's like, well, every game's different. Well, thank you very much. We know that. Every Sunday there's a new game. And we hopefully want you guys to win more of them than lose, but it's not happening. And one of the reasons why it's not happening is your best players have to be your best players. Odell Beckham is double covered, and he's younger, yes, and probably now more talented than Calvin. But Calvin was instrumental in that loss, in that he, that pick six wasn't necessarily Stafford's fault. He got outbeat by the corner. And when you look at the film, it's a simple slant route. And when it's a slant route, the responsibility of the wide receiver is to, not get beat by the corner. And so you look at it and you go, well, Calvin got beat, and that was his fault. That was a pick six. And then, he's not in the game. And whether it be age, whether it be now the scheme versus, when he can't get open now when he's double covered, whatever the reason is, if Calvin Johnson's going to get one target, you're not going to win games. That's the simple philosophy. If he doesn't get more targets and more involved in the game, you're going to lose. And I don't know why he keeps coming out here and trying to insult us like we don't know that.
Calvin Johnson's not what he used to be. Can we all admit that?
Yeah,
he's at the end of his career.
He's going to be cut. I think he's going to be cut.
Do you?
I do. I think his cap hit. Maybe he's going to play one more year with us and then be cut because the cap hit's a little bit lower. But he should be cut.
I think that's the deal. I think he stays with us one more year, then they release him. But he's not what he used to be. He's not. But you're right. He's the best option you have at wide receiver. He requires the most attention. You need to get him the ball. You need to force feed him it. It doesn't matter if every game's different. It doesn't matter if they have him bracketed. It doesn't matter if they've got almost everybody on the team. He's got to at least see a couple different looks every single game. And they don't use him enough.
Every game's different.
That's the worst part. If I was Calvin Johnson, I would be so entirely pissed at the Lions organization just in general as a whole. You basically sucked my prime years up with using me as a decoy, not feeding me the ball enough, not looking my way, and giving me garbage quarterbacks. This is how you've utilized me. And I'm still a dog-ass receiver in this league. Yeah. I would pull my pants down and tell somebody to do something. I'm just saying.
Imagine him on Carolina. Man, him again.
It'd be ridiculous.
Imagine him with New England. Imagine him with anybody that's worth a damn. It's not fair to him. And as a competitor, I don't know. I don't know if it's getting to him, but you can't have a one-catch performance. You have to, if in the first half he's not getting touches, you have to make those adjustments. And so why didn't it happen? Why didn't Jim Bob Cooter make the correct adjustments to get him the ball? So you have to get your playmakers the ball. And if you don't, when you get asked about it, you can't insult the fans and try to act like, every time it's different. Okay, fine.
He does not like being questioned at all.
Listen, okay, every game's different, but, you don't have to go from one extreme to the other. You don't have to have 12 catches, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns every game, but you don't also have to have one catch for 16 yards. A game where he struggles might be 8 catches for 75 yards, but some impact. That's what we're saying. That's the part he doesn't get. Is like we're asking, obviously the reason why he got one catch was St. Louis has a good defense, and St. Louis did some things to take him away. But what we're saying is, okay, why is it that he was only targeted that, T.J. Jones got more targets than Calvin Johnson? That's what we're saying. We're saying we want kind of the happy medium. 6 catches, 80 yards, first downs, use them, effectively, not one catch and more targets to T.J. Jones. That's all we're saying. The average podcast schlub knows that, and you don't. And then when we ask you about it, you're like, every game's different. Okay, fine, man. That's why you got stations doing parody songs of you and looping you and your stupid-ass comments, and that's why you're going to be fired. And we're only doing this to help you, man. It's not that hard. We're basic fans figuring out that, okay, if Calvin's not going to have a 10-catch, 200-yard performance, at least get him 7, 8 catches every game, each and every performance. Come on, man. It's not that hard. Figure it out.
He's an idiot. It's that simple. He really is an idiot.
Yeah, that's what it is.
He does not like to be questioned.
Yeah.
He does not like when you sit there and you scrutinize his game plan. He does not like to talk about his game plan, especially after losses. He's an idiot. He really is. He's a good motivational guy, and I think those players, when things are going okay, they don't even have to be going well, but things have to be going okay, those guys believe in him. But when he comes out and he does this stuff, I think this discredits him. Those players then look at him and they're like, why are we following this guy? This is the same guy that we would have sat there and ran through a brick wall for last year. And he's out here doing this. Like, he's insulting us even. And this brings you now to your 4-9 season, where you're going to go down into New Orleans and you're going to get jail sexed.
Yep. Well, I think I know what the picks for the Lions game is going to be for you. But let's take a quick break. We got a lot more to get to on this fine podcast. A round of the Doctors in Session, a chat with Jeff Rieger regarding the Red Wings, the NFL Pick'em Challenge. Stay tuned. Doc and Jock, episode 123, Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Doc and Jock here for Fanatic U. If you're looking for some sweet sports swag and you love your Detroit teams, and I mean you really love your Detroit teams, you got to check out fanaticu.com. Check out fanaticu.com. Use promo code DSP, save 15% even off the clearance items, and get the coolest gear out there and rock your Red Wing shirt, rock your Lions shirt, rock your Piston apparel. Wear it till the wheels fall off. Michigan State, you know what? They got it too. Check out Fanatic U. They have 6 locations all over Metro Detroit. Check them out, fanaticu.com.
All right, cuz, I want to talk to you about Team Top Cat Sales. Are you looking for team apparel for your high school, your club sports team, or corporation? Look no further than Top Cat Sales, located on the east side of Main Street in downtown Royal Oak between 11 and 12 Mile. Through founder and former University of Michigan quarterback John Wanger's leadership, Top Cat Sales has delivered a tradition of selling and distributing custom Adidas team apparel with the highest quality and best service. Get your organization, school, or club team all in with Adidas today by going to topcatteamsales.com. That's topcatteamsales.com. Also, follow Top Cat on Twitter at Team Top Cat.
Yeah, we coming now. Come on. Yeah, that's right. We put it down. It's like a family in here, just a little disabled. Putting it down, we lay them out on the table. Yeah. Who's in the house? The brothers in the house. Gotta turn it on out, let you know what we about. Kinda like Cain and Abel, a bit unstable. Don't be breaking the brain, break the whole damn table.
All right, thank you for sticking with us on the Detroit Sports Podcast. Thank you for supporting those who support us. Great news, we got Top Cat Sales, as you just heard. Great new sponsor, great addition to the DSP family. We greatly appreciate all the support we've gotten lately. The podcast is doing great things. We always want to give support to our sponsors. We want to give support to the DetroitSportsNation.com website, U of M diehards, all the people who support us. It's a great situation we got going on, and we can't continue to do it without those who are supporting us. So as we say, support those who support us, and we can continue to roll out these 6 to 7 podcasts each and every week. All right, cuz, now it's time for what we call The Doctor is in Session.
But to be the man, you gotta beat the man, and I'm saying, woo, right here, I'm the man, woo!
All right, so last week in Jock Jams, we really sat there and we honed in on Detroit. I wanted to go a little bit more, I don't know, worldwide with all of your stuff. With everything that we're going to sit there and we're going to put you on the couch here, I wanted to go national. So going national, Golden State finally suffered its first loss after winning its first 24 games. What has to happen for this team to match or break the 95-96 Chicago Bulls 72-10 mark?
Golden State is must-watch for NBA fans. They're a team that has everything that you'd want in a professional basketball team. Solid defense, a great scorer, a Hall of Fame potential player in Steph Curry. You know, a guy like that, cuz, is changing the game in that just in the past couple years because of guys like LeBron and things like that, it's more of a slasher league, dunking league. Now, because of this guy and what he's doing, you see now more fundamental basketball. Shooting. What? Basketball, shooting. This guy can make shots from anywhere. People are coming in from out of town just to watch him in warm-ups. That's what this guy can do. But a couple factors may prevent them from getting to 72-10. You know, the schedule.
It's a hard mark.
It's a hard thing to do because you got back-to-back games and you have to avoid injury. This team is really solid, but look what happened when Klay Thompson went out. A little bit more of a struggle versus Boston, and then you subsequently lost to Milwaukee. And then a little known factor that is not talked about a whole lot. Steve Kerr's not coaching right now. He's got personal issues he's dealing with, whether it be health or what's going on. But Luke Walton is in charge of the team right now. When Steve Kerr does decide to come back, is there going to be a big drop-off? I don't think so, but it could happen. It's a talking point. You know, you got Luke Walton, who maybe is going to be a very bright, young head coach out there, and he's going to be well sought after. But what he's done has been amazing, and he's kept the team basically like nothing happened, like there's been no transition. A lot of teams can't do that. But when you look at the way that Golden State plays, their box office, you have to go watch them. I mean, the game's coming up with the Pistons, their second matchup this year in January. It's must-see. And then it's going to be the retirement, I believe, of Ben Wallace that day. They're must-see. Do I think they're going to do it? I think they're going to probably come close to matching it, maybe just short. I think they're going to probably finish with 11 to 13 losses in that range. I think it's just too hard nowadays to really put forth streaks like that. They're going to have lulls in their shooting. They're going to have situations where they might have, a couple minor injuries here and there. But remember the talk when the Pistons were potentially going to maybe look at Draymond Green, and everyone, all us idiots were like, nah, he's not a superstar. He's not box office. Damn it, intangibles. Everyone looks at, is this guy box office? Is he worth the money? I would bet that if Draymond Green's not on Golden State, they don't have a 24-1 start or whatever their start was. So Draymond Green, 24-0. And then
you're absolutely right.
Draymond Green,
he's a leader in that locker room.
I wish the Pistons would have got Draymond Green, second-round pick. You could have potentially had him. I think that as long as Steph Curry and the crew stays healthy, they're going to have a great season. Probably you're looking at the champions.
All right. What are your thoughts on Major League Baseball's Commissioner Rob Manfred's decision to keep Pete Rose out of baseball?
Damn near 2016, we're still talking about Pete Rose. Vito and I chatted a little bit on the Tigers Talk podcast about Pete Rose, and I'm shocked that Pete Rose is still a person that has the ability to continue to appeal to a new commissioner. Dude lied to past commissioners. Dude lied to at least 3 commissioners, and he's still banned from baseball.
He lied to Rob Manfred. Then he had to go back and retract the statements during their interview.
There you go.
Pete Rose doesn't even believe what Pete Rose is saying at this point.
In the end, you know what's going down? You know who's hustling everybody? Pete Rose. His name. He doesn't care if he's in the Hall of Fame. All he's got to do is look. Who's got the most hits in the history of Major League Baseball? Pete Rose. Whether or not you get a ring or a bust, what's the big deal? You know what he's doing? He's chilling in Vegas right now by a pool, probably with some hot-ass brunettes, and he's doing his thing. He doesn't care if he's in the Hall of Fame. He's using this as PR to keep going. You know what he's done for the last 20 years? Sign his name. Show up. Collect checks. So he doesn't want to be in the Hall of Fame. He wants to just keep doing it. He's like, damn, how long is Manfred's contract so I can get to the next guy? This should be done. After the first appeal, this story should be a non-story. It should be done. And for those of you who are like, oh, no, you got to be leniency. You got to, not worry about his behavior. It was a big, fat golden rule. You bet on baseball, you're banned for life. Cause in the last 30 years, you heard anybody else gamble on baseball?
Never.
You heard anybody else?
Nope.
I think that's a big-ass deterrent. I think we've become a weak-ass society where we have a set of rules, people break them, and we're all trying to, bend and flex around the rules. The rule is, don't bet on baseball, you're not going to get banned. But now we're like, well, he's an ambassador. Well, he's got the most hits. Well, it's Pete Rose. What do you mean, well? He gambled. He got caught. Hell, if you want to do that, he shouldn't have got caught then. He should be smart enough not to get caught and end up in the situation that he's in. Pete Rose did this to himself. No one else has done this. This is what enforcing rules should be about. You bet on baseball, your ass is banned for life. And so for this to keep going on is just media cycle, finding some news in the offseason to banter about. It should not be talked about anymore. Pete Rose, great career. You know who you can look. He's got the most hits, but he does not deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. He does not deserve to be put in the Hall of Fame even after he dies. He broke a golden rule. He potentially cost the league, perception in terms of integrity. When you gamble, even though you may not bet against your team, as a manager, you have the ability to influence a lot of decisions. And in the end, I probably don't believe him anyway.
Did you see the any of his press conference? It's exactly like you said. It was also he could sit up there and talk about some of the charity he's done and why he decided to appeal and what was discussed in the appeal process and how he basically lied, but then he went back and retracted his statement because he sat there and he panicked a little bit. It was all show, and he had 2 lawyers that were high priced sitting on both sides of him, and those guys were pushing their names hard, trying to get some business. It was it was a disaster. It was awful. I can't believe I wasted my time watching it.
Yeah, big fat mess. Probably the last time we talk about Pete Rose until he passes, man. Good luck with that.
Let's move on to your last question here. You are a huge MMA guy. I don't know if listeners of the Detroit Sports Podcast know how big of an MMA fan you are.
Love it.
When I first met you, we would sit there and we would sometimes have discussions about MMA sitting around my dad's bonfire. Mm-hmm. All right. This is when you were first courting my cousins.
Yes.
All right. So, what was your reaction to Conor McGregor's 13-second knockout of Jose Aldo?
It was fascinating, dude. I don't get to the bar all that often nowadays. You know, when you have a family, you do the family thing, you work, do all the projects you want to do, you get home and just crash and hang out with the family. But, you know, every couple months, get out to the bar, watch a UFC pay-per-view. This one was must see. You had a great card, great event, and you had 2 title fights. And Conor McGregor is a guy now who's taken over the mantle of hyping up fights. He's a guy that can talk. He's a guy that can sell a fight. And what made it more intriguing was the fight versus Jose Aldo was delayed because of Jose Aldo's injury. So Conor McGregor's waiting patiently, doing his thing, and it's now time for that fight to come around. And he's like, if I hit him, he's done. And he's braggadocious, an Irishman, a guy that you can get behind, and he's a guy that more times than not can back up what he says. So boom, he gets into the ring, and you're like, oh dude, this guy's having fun. He's jovial. Jose Aldo looks like he's constipated, nervous, and when you came into that fight, Conor McGregor was treating it like a concert, having a good old time. So the fight happens, boom, 13 seconds into the fight, he lands a vicious shot. And even though he got clipped by Jose Aldo, it was a vicious shot. And I jumped up out of my chair in the bar. I'm like, oh, that's what you love about the UFC, is that at any time, if you blink, you could miss something special. And that's what I like about the UFC, is that not only did he clock him, but he got to do 2 hammer fists to his head. So that was awesome. Where in boxing, it's a little bit more professional, and they hit each other, but it's not as vicious as the UFC. So for those of people, some people complain that, like, hey, if you pay the money and you're only getting 13 seconds of the main event, dude, I wouldn't pay $60 out of my pocket. You go to the bar, dude, you can find a watering hole to go. And you know what my tab was for the night? $7.50. I paid $10. $7.50, $2.50 tip, or whatever. Well, I paid $11.
Did you have a beer?
I had
you drank Diet Coke with free refills all night long, didn't you?
I drank a Pepsi, and I had and an order of fried pickles.
Yeah.
So, but because your surroundings. There are other guys
he
drinking.
He has the tightest pockets you'll ever see.
So I paid $11. So it's not that hard. If you do buy it, get your boys. 10 guys, $6 a piece. It's not a big problem. So those people that were complaining, I don't get it. But the UFC is great. It was an amazing, amazing performance. One that gets your ass out of the seat. And Conor McGregor is going to be the face of the UFC in 2016. And the last couple of years for the UFC have been kind of slow because the superstars have kind of faded away. But now you got a new set, and Conor McGregor's the face. And I'll watch his fights. And he got me. I'm hooked.
Can you slip quarters into your pockets sideways? It's like they're sewed shut.
I don't know if potentially people know our crew, but we got put in the back, with a brand new table that was newly furnished. They had to put it there because we had 7 guys there. But, most bars, I don't know why they even carry it, because you get the same crew that show up and they're there for 4 hours and you don't turn over the table. So it must be a horrible night for waitresses. I feel bad. I tipped okay. I mean,
well, I guess for waitresses it would suck, but for the bar, if you guys are sitting there pounding brews for 4 hours,
yeah. Well, I don't.
I know you don't.
I massage that Pepsi, heavy ice.
Yes.
Can I get you another Pepsi, heavy ice? So the UFC is great, man. You have to watch it.
Tightest pockets in Metro Detroit.
You can watch it for $11. You can't beat it.
You're the best.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, King of the Couch.
All right, let's take our last break. We'll talk to Jeff Rieger about the Red Wings, and we'll do the NFL Pick'em Challenge. And stay tuned. Doc and Jock, episode 123, Detroit Sports Podcast Network. I want to tell everyone out there about DetroitSportsNation.com. They're a great website, and they've been very supportive to all the shows on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. They host all the podcasts. They have great writers that cover all the Detroit teams, all the college teams. Check out their website and support those who support us. DetroitSportsNation.com. The collaboration has been excellent, and it's helped us to continue to grow and have great guests take phone calls. So our collaboration with the Detroit Sports Nation has really been successful. DetroitSportsNation.com.
Right now, we'd like to bring to the phone lines the one, the only, 97.1, the Ticket's own, Jeff Rieger. What's up, Jeff?
What's up, boys? How you guys doing? The one and only. Well, what a great intro. Thank you.
Hey, I want to thank you for coming
Thank God
on.
there's only one.
I don't know. I wouldn't mind if there was two of you.
You could be the only one.
Yeah, I probably would be the only one. I think I might be your biggest fan. Hey, I know with the baby on the way that I want to just thank you for coming on and taking some time out of your busy day to come on and do this with us. We appreciate it. I know back in 2011 when I was sitting there interning for you, we had talked a little bit about some different things, and you're a huge baseball guy. But after taking over the Wings, you really sat there and you kind of fell in love with hockey. And because of that, I want to get you on. I want to talk a little bit of Wings with you again. And the Wings just came off this impressive 13-game point streak where they were able to sit there and win a few games, lose a few in overtime, but they're able to manage points in 13 games. Now they're sitting in second in their division. What impressed you most during that 13-point game streak?
Well, I think it's been a little of impressive, and then I think there's some stuff that'll cause a worry, too, because it was 13 points, or 13 games, rather. It probably should have been 14, considering they led 1-0 on Buffalo the other night, Monday night, with 5 minutes to go, and then Mrazek gave up a couple of goals. That's been their issue all season long. They have not been able to finish. A late lead seems to go away pretty quick, and whether that's taking their foot off the pedal or just giving into a more desperate team to the team that's down, I think that's reason for concern. You know, Jeff Blashill says it's a combination of things. You know, you could just get the next goal. Well, I'm not so sure it's always that easy. However, they need to kind of fix the late game leads being blown thing. Brad Richards said the other day that they need to learn how to win as a team. I mean, they're not that young. They have a bunch of guys. I'm not feeling Larkin's young, but I don't consider them a super young team. So I think they have to figure out exactly how to hold a late lead. Other than that, they've been playing better hockey. They got Brad Richards back. They got Pavel Datsyuk back. You mentioned 13 straight games. A couple of those games, like I remember the Nashville game, where they came from 2 goals behind, and it was a Sunday, I believe, and they were able to pull that victory out, too. You've seen a lot of overtime, which I think the fans love. You've seen some shootouts, which I think we're all sick of. But I like the fact that the lines seem to be more stable. You know, I like Larkin playing with Bill Cater and Zetterberg. I think Zetterberg's done wonders for Dylan Larkin. And I really like Darren Helm coming on a little bit, playing with Brad Richards and Pavel Datsyuk. So I think that's good, too. And then, you know, nobody ever talks about it, but Nyquist and Tatar and Sheahan, before the season's done, I think that line's going to be responsible for some pretty big goals. So I like what you've seen from the lines. Things have seemed to settle down. And, you know, let's not forget, early on in the season, they lost 4 or 5 games in a row after winning 3 in a row, and people started to wonder, okay, well, how's this team going to be? So I think Blashill's done a nice job of adjusting, too.
Now, you spoke earlier on the fact that part of the reason, one of the biggest problems with the Wings is their inability to close. What do you think is causing that, their difficulties in terms of, late in the third period, giving up goals and not being able to close out these other teams in the East?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I think that's $1 million question. I think if we knew, maybe you could fix that. But I think it is a combination of things. You know, there are some times where, like, I'll just give you an example. The Buffalo game on Monday night, they're up 1-0. And life looks good. I thought Mrazek looked good. And, you know, Detroit had some grade A scoring chances that they were unable to convert on. You know, go back to the Tom Circle penalty shot, which I believe Chris Osgood on the telecast said I would stop that 100 of 100 times. I mean, when you get a penalty shot, you probably need to convert. But you look at that game, and I was actually walking downstairs after the game behind a couple of Buffalo. I think they were front office guys. And one of the guys is pretty incensed, swearing. And he's like, it's amazing. You know, I'm not going to swear, but he's like, we go through all these complex plays. We waste so much time practicing them and scheming them and coming up with them. And what does it take to win? You just throw the effing puck at the net. And the guy was yelling at the other guy. And, you know, he's kind of right in that situation. You know, Buffalo was a desperate team, and they didn't care about quality scoring chances. They cared about just like, screw it, get the puck to the net and hope you get one past Mrazek. And they were able to get 2 past Mrazek. So I think it's just as simple as when you're up, that other team, obviously, they pull their goalie, they're more desperate, and they pick it up. And I don't think the Wings have matched that intensity coming from the other side. So they need to work on that. I have no idea how you work on that, except for just keep doing it. You know, but Blashill does mention a lot, too. Get that second goal or that third goal to make it a 2-goal lead, and he's right. But unfortunately, it's not as easy as it sounds.
Do you think maybe some leadership from a guy like Henrik Zetterberg, maybe a Pavel Datsyuk, being a little bit more vocal and maybe taking the reins a little bit to sit there and help steer them into some victories, especially late in those third period games?
Yeah, I mean, I think those guys help. I really do. I mean, I think Zetterberg's been integral for a guy like Dylan Larkin, as we kind of mentioned. You know, I think Datsyuk. I think Brad Richards is another one. This guy's won Stanley Cups. He knows what it's all about. I think that helped. But I think they just need to do it, and they need to do it more times than not. And they have done it a little bit through the course of the 13 and 14 game streak here. Well, it was snapped, obviously, on Monday. But I think that the more they do it, the more you'll see that they can do it. And I know that sounds kind of stupid, but like this team has kind of been a progression from the season start, right? So they had great success in the first 3 games. One of those games was Toronto, the home opener, and they scored some goals, and everything looked good. And then kind of tape was out on them, and teams started to adjust, and they lost some games. But I think they've done a nice job of kind of clearing that next hurdle with the new head coach. At first it was, okay, just learn how to win and score goals, you know, and they found a way to do that. They weren't getting very many shots at net early on in the season. They found a way to be better at that. You know, so I think this is just kind of the next hurdle that they need to figure out and then clear and then move on from there. But I think all it takes is doing it a couple of times, you know, a 2-goal lead in the third period. I think it's mental. I think they're like, okay, well, we have to protect this. So maybe that means you become tight. Maybe that means you're trying to do too much. I don't know exactly, but you do it a couple of times and I would assume the adversity would go away.
Jeff Rieger on the line with us, 97.1. You can catch him on the Detroit Red Wings radio network, pre- and post-game. Now, Jeff, a lot of talk has been surrounding Jeff Blashill's decision to go with Mrazek and Howard and rotating games and things like that. What's been your assessment of his decision so far, knowing that if you kind of watch, you kind of can see that Mrazek, when he's in there, has that it factor?
Yeah, I think Mrazek's the guy, and I think Blashill knows Mrazek is the guy. I give him credit, I guess, for sticking with the platoon just because it keeps Jimmy Howard truly engaged. And, you know, I talked to Jimmy the other day, and he's like, I'm not going to lie to you. You know, it's tough. It's tough not playing every day when I was a starter before I was the number one guy. So I think it's only a matter of time before Peter Mrazek, and I don't know if it will ever be you're the number one goalie, but I think it's only a matter of time before we start seeing him, you know, in back-to-back starts rather than every other start. And then, you know, maybe the only time you see Jimmy is the second game of the back-to-back or the first game of the back-to-back, that sort of thing, depending on the schedule works out. But I think Peter Mrazek's the guy. I think he is better than Jimmy Howard. I don't think Jimmy Howard's bad, but I think we've seen what Jimmy Howard's capable of, and I do believe that Peter Mrazek can take it to the next level. So I do think in the upcoming months we're gonna see more Peter. Now, whether that means they try to trade Jimmy Howard to a team that needs a goalie to free up some cap space for the Wings and plus maybe get something in return, that's yet to be seen. I do like the fact that on an off day for Peter, Jimmy's there. I like the fact that you have 2 competent goalies because even though I think Mrazek is better, I think Jimmy Howard's fine. I do. And I think goaltending has not been an issue for the most part with this team. And I also think you look at the money. People love to talk about how bad of a contract that is for Howard. And I hear you. However, if you look at the 1-2 combination of Mrazek and Howard, it's about $6 million combined. And overall, that's not awful for 2 goalies that, you know, are capable of doing the job. Now, if one of them truly was awful, then that's way too much. But, you know, that's not awful. So I would say you probably hold on to both of them, keep things how they are for a little bit, and then eventually you'll have to make a decision. But maybe that's down the road.
Speaking of Jeff Blashill and his decisions, what's impressed you most about him this season?
I think he's a lot like Babcock in regards to he sets lines and then he juggles them if they're not working. And I know that sounds silly because it seems like every coach should do that, but they don't. I think you look at it over the course of a game. Like, for instance, he has no issue putting Zetterberg and Datsyuk back together if he thinks that's what's needed. He has no issue moving Helm to the 4th line or bringing up Yurko to the 2nd line. You know, he just wants to get it right. And I think that's a tough thing when it's not working early on to continue to kind of tinker with it until you get the right set. And right now, I think he's got the right set for the most part. So I like that. I also like the fact that he has kind of messed with the defensive pairing a little bit as well, and that has seemed to get the D-man a little more involved too. So I think he's done a nice job of, you know, early on kind of taking it all in, trying to figure it out, what's it gonna take to win, and then kind of adapting to it. So I think he's done a nice job in just kind of not being afraid to change.
We have about maybe 4 or 5 weeks left in this Drew Miller, Teemu Pulkkinen injury that occurred a couple Thursdays ago. Who do you think is going to be the bigger loss in the long run for the Wings during that time period?
Good question. I would say I think Teemu Pulkkinen was playing better hockey when he got injured. And, I mean, I know everybody talks about his shot. There's more to Teemu Pulkkinen than just his shot, and I think he needs to continue to prove that. I think Teemu Pulkkinen is at a huge ceiling. I really do believe that. And I think in a couple years down the line, you're going to see this guy is not a superstar, but I think he's going to be, a top 6 forward without a doubt. So I'm not so sure it's hurting them right now, but I think him being injured kind of hurts him and continuing to progress. As far as Drew Miller is concerned, everybody mentions Drew Miller. Okay, who cares? He's a fourth liner or whatever. The penalty kill is not as good with Drew Miller not out there. He does a heck of a job on the line. Okay, whatever. Not a big deal in hockey terms, but I think specialty teams, as far as the PK is concerned, I think he's missed. I really do. So, yeah, you have other guys that can kill penalties, but I think Drew Miller is very good at it. So I would say Drew Miller is probably going to be missed a little bit more than Teemu Pulkkinen.
I was thinking the same thing there. We'll get you out of here on this because I know that you're on Baby Watch. Baby Watch 2015 here. Maybe 2016. A couple days?
Any day now. Yeah, she actually just went to the doctor today, and I'm like, can we get a prediction? And apparently the doctors don't give predictions.
They don't have crystal balls?
Well, it'd be nice if they did. I mean, come on. They get paid a lot of money. Why can't they just tell me, the kid will be here on the 20th?
Right.
On the 21st, maybe Christmas. Who knows?
I was going to say, is there a possibility you're going to have a Christmas baby?
There's a possibility. The due date is of the 20th.
All right.
So they won't let her go past a couple weeks, I guess, after the due date. So, yeah, it could be at Christmas, which I'm almost certain would make her miserable because she's miserable right now. But it'd be kind of cool.
Right.
For me.
All right, we'll get you out of here on this. Who does Dylan Larkin remind you most of?
I'm just going to say a guy, and I don't know if his play reminds me of him, but just his situation reminds me of Steve Yzerman. And, I know people have compared him to Steve Yzerman. In fact, Steve Yzerman went over to Ken Holland when he drafted Dylan Larkin 15th overall, and he said, that kid is going to wear a C on his chest one day for you guys. And I tend to believe that. I mean, you look at this kid, he's 19 years old. It's been years, decades since a 19-year-old has cracked, the Wings team. And you know how it is. Ken Holland loves to take the prospects, throw them in Grand Rapids, have them play every day. You got to earn the job. He's not going to give you a job. And Dylan Larkin's obviously that special that he had some Blashill knew about him and coached him, obviously. And then, he was good in the preseason, and he's not letting him down. Leads the team in goals, leads the league in plus minus, leads the team, I believe, in takeaways. He definitely leads on rookies in takeaways. So I just think he's one of those talents, like an Yzerman was, that eventually is going to be the next crop of Wings that has the ability to kind of take this team on his back. So I would go Yzerman just from the personality as far as, like, his situation. As far as him as a player, that's a good question. I watch him, and it's not like you can compare him yet to another guy in the league. Like, for instance, Connor McDavid. Everybody said he's like Ryan Getzlaf, right? The big, or Wayne Gretzky rather. The guy that is a once in a generational player, and obviously he got hurt for Edmonton. But you talk to the pundits, and they think he's going to be the best of this rookie crop. You look at a guy like Jack Eichel, who the Wings have seen a couple of times now. And by the way, Dylan Larkin is good buddy and outplayed him. And people think he's the next Ryan Getzlaf, this big power guy, big hard on the puck. As far as Larkin is concerned, I think his best quality, I think there's two. I think his speed is number one. And he doesn't seem, and this sounds crazy, he's 19 years old. He doesn't make that many bad decisions.
Yeah, I was going to say, his two-way play has been incredible this year.
Yeah.
And that's what's impressed me the most.
Not to mention, guys, as a wing, he can bring up the puck. It's not all on Zetterberg to bring up the puck. I think that's big. I also think, too, that, and I don't know if a lot of people notice this, he took a lot of penalties within the last month. And that started to, and I'm sure somebody talked to him about it, but you've seen less and less of him in the box. So I think that's a positive too. So what amazes me about him, that he's 19 years old. He's living with Luke Glendening and Riley Shea. Now, could you imagine those three dudes going out at night?
I was going to say the parties.
I mean, seriously, man. But like this kid is the real deal. And it seems like he's got a level head on his shoulder. He's a local guy from Waterford. I mean, it's pretty remarkable what he's been able to do so far. So it's unbelievable. And it's interesting, too, because like Montreal was in town the other day. It was last Thursday, I think. And, that's all anybody cares about in Montreal is the hockey team, obviously. And you should have seen the press around Dylan Larkin. It's like every other media is discovering this kid for the first time. I mean, he had probably layers of people around him trying to, ask him questions that he's already answered a ton of times. But it's pretty remarkable how he's able to kind of deal with it all.
I'll say a name. You tell me if I'm maybe in the neighborhood here. He reminds me a lot of Patrice Bergeron, just the way he plays two ways. He's very offensively gifted, and he, like you said, he can carry the puck, but he's 19, so I think his ceiling's much higher.
Yeah, Bergeron's a great player, too. I would say, I don't think it's a bad comparison. I'll say this, though. I think he's quicker than Patrice Bergeron.
Yes, very much so.
I think he's quicker than Darren Helm, which I think is saying a lot. In fact, do you guys remember Anthony Ciu that they brought up for, 3 games? I think he scored a goal, and they sent it back down the GR.
Yep.
That kid I think could be quicker than Dylan Larkin, but maybe that's the only one.
Interesting, very interesting. Well, I want to thank you, sir. Good luck with the baby. Congratulations. I know it's we're like days away here. I feel like we're minutes away here. So I want to thank you for coming on. You're hoping minutes. Well, she's hoping minutes.
She's hoping minutes. She's actually passed out right now.
Okay.
She's passed out with the dog. So, but yes, minutes would be good. We're ready to get the show on the road.
Very good. Well, thank you for coming on, sir. You can catch Jeff on 97.1 The Ticket. You can also follow him on Twitter at Rieger1984. Jeff, thank you for coming on again, buddy.
I make fun of the Lions a lot on Twitter.
Yes,
it's the one thing the Lions are good for. They're very easy to make fun of on Twitter.
Hey, you know what? We're gonna get you in here for a one-on-one one of these days after you get settled in with the baby. So it'll be good.
Sounds good, guys. All right, take care. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Jeff. I could talk to that guy all day.
He's fun, man.
As you could tell.
No, that's good, man. He got a lot of insight regarding the Red Wings. It's been all good. And like I said, on Baby Watch, gave us a few minutes, gave us a lot of minutes actually talking about our Detroit Red Wings. So, man, it's all good. That's what I love about it is that when we prep the podcast, we say, hey, who do we want to talk to? And I'm like, you know what? We haven't talked hockey a little bit. Let's get some inside information. And you go right to the pre and post game host, Jeff Rieger, and he's a good dude and he's a friend of the podcast, and we greatly appreciate it. Again, you can follow him on Twitter at Rieger1984, and we just shot a tweet out as we were talking to him because he gave such elaborate answers. All right, now it's that time of the show. I wasn't confident in my picks last week, but I did pull out 2, and you pulled out 3. We both got the Lions game wrong. I would have if I was brave enough. Like I said, on Wednesdays, I'm calm, cool, collected, but then when game day hits, I'm like, you know what? This team sucks.
You do flip-flop a lot on game day.
Because today it's Wednesday. It's the middle of the week. I'm cool and content. But then when game day hits, I was honest when you asked me, why did I change my pick? I'm like, you know what? The more coaching they got, I felt like the worse they were going to be. And it actually came to fruition. They didn't even lose 27-24. They didn't even get to that. So that's what happened. But this is the NFL Pick'em Challenge, baby. Who you got?
All right, with my first pick, I've been sitting there picking these guys the last 2 or 3 weeks. We've got Houston at Indy. The Colts' O-line is atrocious. Andrew Luck has a cut kidney. Matt Hasselbeck is like 1,000, and he's now in a wheelchair permanently because that offensive line is so bad. And because of this, I expect J.J. Watt and his bum ham and Jadeveon Clowney to have a field day. 5 sacks for each of them. Houston rolls in this game.
Okay. Now, I'm kind of surprised that Denver opened up at Pittsburgh with Pittsburgh -6. I'm pleasantly surprised by that. I don't think that Pittsburgh is going to roll at Denver with that defense. I think Brock Osweiler is doing decent. Now, I'm not saying they're going to win the game, but I don't think it's going to be a situation where Pittsburgh is going to roll them. So with my first pick, I got Denver +6 at Pittsburgh. It's going to be, they're used to the cold environment. They're used to playing solid defense. I think it's going to be a tight game all the way into the fourth quarter, maybe the best game of the weekend. So give me Denver.
All right, with my next pick, Buffalo Bills are at the Washington Redskins. This week, I like Sexy Rexy and his bumbling Bills who can't get out of their own way to get a W. I think the Bills are more talented than Washington, and I believe Rex Ryan is a better coach than Jay Gruden. Because of this, I'll lay a point, and I'll pick the Bills.
Okay, I think the easiest pick I make this week is that Washington plays good at home. Buffalo's reeling. I don't know, Rex Ryan is just at the point now when you look at him, he's overrated.
He struggles to close.
The Jets are better now without him, and Buffalo's worse with him. So easy pick. I got Washington in a rout at home versus Buffalo.
My next game, apparently I'm taking all away teams. Arizona is traveling to Philadelphia. The Cardinals are averaging almost 29 points per game in their last 7 games. They play more like the Eagles than the Eagles could ever hope to play like. Also, Philadelphia is giving up more than 30 points a game over that same span. I don't see the Eagles keeping up with Arizona. I'm going to lay the 3.5 points, and I'm going to take the Redbirds.
Now, the question is, does a victory versus the Lions propel you to have some momentum? I'm not sure because St. Louis is terrible, and Tampa Bay is going to be coming into that game with some momentum. So I think if I'm going to pick an away team, I'm going to go with Tampa Bay, who's getting 1.5. So I think it's going to be solid. I don't think that the St. Louis offense is going to turn around just because they played well versus the Lions. You got Case Keenum, and I think now that Lovie Smith has got more involved in that defense, he's more involved now being there a little bit longer, that Jameis Winston and that team is going to go in there and play a good game. So with my third pick, give me Tampa Bay at St. Louis with a 7 to 10-point victory.
That now leads us to the game of the week, your Monday night football game. I say game of the week all tongue-in-cheek.
Boo.
I basically alluded to this earlier in the Detroit segment. The Saints are technically in the playoff hunt, while the Lions laid an egg and killed their hopes a couple weeks ago.
Oh, no!
That's right, Dan Miller. Oh, no. The Saints will play for something and dazzle on national TV because they always do, while the Lions will flop and lose again on the big stage. I'm going to take Drew Brees, his sexy face scar, and I'm going to give the point. I'm going to give the points. New Orleans -3 over your Lions.
Do I have the guts to do it? Do I think that they're going to play well? No. Do I think that the Lions are going to keep the game close? Potentially. I just got a feeling like this is going to be a dud of a game on Monday night. I feel like it's going to be a 10-7 kind of halftime score either way, and it's just going to be a putrid kind of game where they're talking about, how many punts does Sam Martin have and how many turnovers. I don't see a shootout. I don't see that at all. But in the end, if there's going to be a blowout, you think it's going to be from New Orleans. I mean, just prior to the last game, Drew Brees had some massive numbers. Willie Snead's been more involved in the offense. I agree with you. I have to with strategy. I don't think I'm going to flip-flop. I do believe that New Orleans is going to win at home by more than 3. So give me New Orleans winning by probably a touchdown, probably in the neighborhood of like 23-16. I think that the Lions are mailing it in, and they're going to struggle. They're going to show up. They're going to tell everybody what we want to hear. But in the end, when it comes down to what they're going to do on the field, it's going to be a dud. And give me New Orleans with a 7-point victory. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, dude, the Lions are atrocious. I don't see them winning this game at all. And there's just too much firepower on New Orleans' side. I mean, they lost their best running back, and they were able to plug a guy in who hasn't played football in, 3-4 years. And that guy was able to sit there and put up more rushing yards and score more rushing touchdowns than the Lions running backs combined last week, I think.
All right, sir.
Pretty close, anyways.
Very professional podcast. I felt like it was very workmanlike. We gave solid opinions. We did what we were supposed to do, and I'm very happy. Getting close to the year-end review podcast, getting a chance to talk a little about what the hell happened this year. But thanks for everyone and their support. Another great podcast. 123 down. The longest-running weekly episodic Detroit sports podcast, doing great things with the best interviews. I challenge you, go out there and find another podcast that has the interviews that we got, and then we'll step up our game. Let me know. Like I said, I love that everyone else is getting into it. I love seeing it. I love seeing the networks sprout up. I love supporting the other networks as well. I listen to all of them. So out there, I'm listening. I'm listening to all your podcasts. They're really good. They're getting up there. I'm happy. But I love the fact that we get to do this on our own terms, have the guests we want, and have fun doing the Detroit Sports Podcast. For the Jock, Adam Strozinski, I am the Doc, John McAroon. Thank you so much. Support us, DetroitSportsPodcast.com.
Go old-time hockey in your championship game this weekend.
Sorry, Detroit. Didn't quite work out.
And all I can say is Detroit Sports Podcast scores.
I hear voices in my head. They counsel me. They understand. They talk to me. They talk to me. They tell me things that I will do. They show me things I'll do.